Whenever we try to not embrace the change and not embrace these in-between moments, as difficult as it can be, we will miss out on what is next because we're familiar with what was in the past. Because we want to be in a place that's familiar and not go into a place that we don't have everything figured out.
Isolation is so devastating to a person's soul during change in a new season, learning from experience.
Yeah.
The past was awesome. It's great, but we don't want to live there. We're in the present and we're headed into the future. And that's how I want to live my life. Right. Not over romanticizing the past, but we're headed into the future. It's a new day. It's a new season. It's a fresh start. That's what I love about transition and change. You get to keep your eyes focused on the future and where you're at versus where you've been.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to For People Like You, our little corner, our little space here on the internet, podcast, whatever you want to call it, whatever this is.
Yeah.
We're glad that you're here today.
Yes.
We're going to have a great conversation, and this is our first episode.
This is crazy. Our very first episode.
First of many. First of how many do you think?
I think
until
320.
We die, until we stop. 320.
677.
Wow. Can't even count that high.
I can't count that high.
Well, how are you feeling after today, after we just recorded
Our
intro?
Yes.
Which maybe people wouldn't feel that or know that, but I think that's just like kind of a cool thing.
Yes. Okay. So we just recorded our intro. We filmed it 3 times or twice.
Because we messed up the background.
Yeah. You messed up the curtain. And so we watched it all back. The curtain was messed up in the shot.
From the beginning.
We had to refilm the whole thing.
Couldn't stand it.
It's currently 10:51 p.m. Our kids are asleep. Yeah. And we are now filming our first episode. So,
and I think that's why people need to know why we're just knocking all this out in one shot.
Yeah.
And changing outfits and whatever, because we have 2 young kids.
We have 2 kids.
And there's no way we can do it during the day.
That's true.
We also have a very busy life.
All the parents know. So, yes, we have 2 kids, Truth, who is 3, and Dove, who's 1. And so we're doing this at night. It's a new season. It's a new day.
New day.
And we're doing a new thing with this podcast. And so I love it. I'm excited. Feels good. We're in our sweats. We're cozy. Yeah. We're on our couch. We're at our house.
And I felt like what we wanted to talk about is like our first episodes, we were just chatting and being like, what do you start with when it comes to this? There's so many things that we want to talk about, so many different topics.
Yep.
But we really felt like the best one would be transition, new seasons, new beginnings.
Yeah.
Because we're always kind of in a season of transition through life, whether it's big or small.
Yeah.
Or it's a high point or a low point.
Yep.
We're always going to be going through transitions in life. And I think it's important to understand how to navigate it in a healthy way, how to maybe avoid unnecessary transitions, how to kind of just remain in different seasons and just knowing when's the right time.
Yeah.
When's the right time to begin? When's the right time to end? There's that verse in Ecclesiastes that, it talks about there's a season for everything.
Yeah.
Under the sun,
There is.
And so I think this is like a really helpful conversation for people who maybe are in the middle of a transition, about to step into a transition, coming out of a transition.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this conversation is going to help them, hopefully.
Hopefully it will. Yeah, I hope it will. And I think that's the whole aim, right, of this podcast, is for it to be centered around faith, inspiration, and conversations. And that is a lot of what our life already looks like. As pastors, we've been in full-time ministry for the last, 7 years, in ministry together the last 10 years, constantly helping people grow in their faith, growing in our faith individually, trying to stay inspired, like as creative people.
Right.
Obviously having lived in Orlando and Miami and now Cape Coral, just spaces that inspire us. And then I think, just being inspired and then being creative, and then just having like awesome conversations. We love coffee.
Yeah.
We love going to coffee shops, and we love having just interesting, fascinating conversations with people.
We somehow always have the most deep conversations like in the car.
We do.
Both kids' names were picked out in the car.
They were. You know? They were. People think their names are really deep. And we're like, well, they are.
It just wasn't chosen.
But it was chosen in the car. It was chosen in the car. Exactly.
Another episode for another time.
Exactly. But yeah, new seasons feel so right for us because we're in such a new season, such a unique season. We moved 10 months ago. We moved cities. We changed churches. We started at a new church and now we pastor that church. Yeah. We had our second child. We had our daughter Dove like a year and some change ago, 17 months ago. Yeah. Everything changed. Cities, job. We bought our first home. Yeah. We're in our home right now filming, which is really special.
And an answered prayer.
Huge answer to prayer, miracle story. And so much in our life has changed. Right. We're both 31. Started dating when we were 19. Yeah. So just life is completely different and it's been filled with so much change. Yeah. And I feel like we've grown so much through all of it.
And even before maybe a seemingly healthy transition right now, you know, there was even a lot of other transitions before that, going from Orlando to Miami and getting married, going from dating to engaged to being married.
Yeah.
And then even just transitioning to different jobs and careers and positions in the same organization and church.
Yeah.
And even going through a lot of different, you know, healthy seasons, unhealthy seasons, highs and lows.
Yeah.
All of that leading up to this, to where it feels like this has been the healthiest transition that we've been in. And we were able to really take what we've learned and things that we knew maybe what not to do, because maybe we had been a part or seen things not done the right way or heard about it or just learned from it from other people from afar. And we were able to apply that. By no means has it been perfect, right? But I think that's just the thing. If you're always learning, always growing, you know, everything is hopefully getting better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the hope of this podcast is not for it to be a podcast that's for people in ministry or for pastors or for just married couples. It's really for everyone. It's called For People Like You because it's for everyone to find a space where they can grow. They can be inspired and they can just be better than they were yesterday. Yeah. And so today we're talking all about new seasons and fresh starts. Yeah. And it's January 2025. Right. So we're in the first month of a new year. And so it's just a forced new season for everybody as we have started a new year and everybody has resolutions, things they want to do.
For sure.
But I want to do a little icebreaker before we jump into the podcast today.
All right.
So I went in ChatGPT and I asked ChatGPT, make me an engaging, fun icebreaker around the topic of new seasons and fresh starts. Right. And this is what ChatGPT told me. So I hope this feels engaging and fun. And if it's horrible, ChatGPT made it. Okay, so we're going to play word association. Okay. And that's icebreaker game. It's called Fresh Start, New Season, Word Association. Long. It's a mouthful of a title.
Yeah.
Okay.
Already off to a great start.
Okay, so I'm going to throw out a word or phrase. You've got to say the first thing that comes to mind, and you can't think hard. Just say the first thing. Okay.
This is horrible for a highly analytical person.
Okay, yeah. So are you ready? Fall leaves.
Fall.
No. Okay. Yes. Okay.
October.
Okay.
November.
Okay. Good.
Well, we don't have that in Florida, but yeah.
Okay, wait. Okay, so yeah, I think we played this right.
Yeah, I think that's the right way.
Okay, so it says no thinking too hard. These words are about change, fresh starts, and new seasons.
Yeah.
And then
I'm just gonna start naming off just random adjectives and nouns and verbs and whatever else.
That's good. I like that. Okay, the next one is this. Monday morning.
Restful.
Uh-huh.
Not as bad as people think.
Okay.
It's what you make it.
Whoa.
These are so deep.
Okay. ChatGPT put grind time, opportunity.
Oh, no.
Everything that
I'm not like
say.
a Monday motivation person. I'm just like, let's enjoy Monday.
You're right. But also Monday's our day off. So we have kind of unique schedules in full-time ministry. Sunday's a big work day. It's the biggest day.
The peak of our week.
Game day, Yeah. So Sundays are Monday, I guess you could say.
Depends. That'll be another icebreaker is does your week start on Monday or Sunday? Mine starts on Sunday. No, on Monday. I start mine on Monday. Sunday ends my week. That's how I picture it. It's controversial. People disagree, but it's okay.
No, that's wrong. Okay. Starting a new job.
scary, stressful.
Yes.
All the onboarding.
Yes.
Nerves.
Yes. Okay, ChatGPT said challenge, excitement.
ChatGPT's never had a real job before.
True.
Clearly.
Okay, first day of school.
That's exciting. New drip, new clothes, new shoes, new friends, same friends.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a word for somebody. Maybe you need to stop trying to get some new friends on the first day of school and go back to the same friends. As long as they're good influences.
Or maybe you need to get rid of the same friends and get some new friends.
Facts. Okay. I feel like you need to ask me some because I'm just asking you.
Yeah.
Do you have any for me?
I don't have any of the words here in my notes, but I can think of some.
Okay.
So you said first day of school.
Yes.
How about this? First child.
Pain, beautiful, tears, contractions, epidural, joy.
Nice. You had that one ready.
In that order.
Wow.
Okay, more.
All right, next one. Let's see. Okay, moving to a new city.
Pregnant, because both moves I've been pregnant.
Yeah, that's true.
Truth's move. I was 37 weeks pregnant when we moved with Truth.
Yeah, we were there for like a week and a half before you.
And then we popped out. Then our second move with Dove, I was in my first trimester, so I was like sick as a dog, just nauseous all day. Okay, so I think of sickness, morning sickness, or about to have a baby.
Yeah.
Home Depot boxes.
Right.
I think about takeout, sleeping on the floor in a mattress.
What about new city like Orlando to Miami?
Went to Miami, newlywed. Trader Joe's frozen orange chicken.
Staple.
I don't know what else. I don't know. Okay, this is the last one. Are you gonna ask me?
I'll ask you.
Okay.
Fresh cup of coffee.
Nespresso pod, not Breville. Ice, milk, creamer poured in, mix it together.
Extra sugar over the top.
Fresh cup of coffee. Okay, I think about the car, because I'm always drinking coffee in the car.
It's true.
Vanilla extract.
Yeah.
The secret sauce to all my coffee.
Yeah.
Cinnamon powder.
Yeah.
Those types of things.
Really good.
Okay, so this was really great. Thank you for playing this game with me.
And that's all for our episode today.
Okay. We're talking truly, though, about transition, about fresh starts, about new seasons.
Yeah.
This hits home for us.
It does. We've been through so many, and we definitely don't have it all figured out, but I think we've learned a lot of great things along the way.
Yeah.
A lot of practical things that we just know now how to do it. And it kind of, I think the more that you go through it, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
You maybe get a little bit more flexible. You would always tell me you got to be a wet noodle.
Shout out to my mom.
And now I feel like I'm an overcooked noodle and just so flexible all the time. Not all the time, but I feel like I'm
a lot of the times.
Now.
And I'm like stiff as a board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
So I feel like the more that you go through that, you're able to maybe be a little more resilient, a little more flexible, and just handle transition better. So it's almost like what would break you before now just maybe stretches you.
Wow.
So good. I feel like that's kind of what happens with transition. That's kind of like what we feel like.
Yeah. I feel like definitely not an expert when it comes to transition. I think that even when it comes to this podcast, the goal is that we're learning together and we're growing together, because we definitely don't have it all figured out. No. We're only 31. We have 2 tiny babies. We haven't even gone through all of parenthood. But I think when it comes to transition and new seasons and fresh starts, what I'm learning right now is just that it just presents like endless possibilities, and it's just a chance to go back to the drawing board and reimagine the life that you see for yourself. Yeah. And I think that whenever a new year comes around and a fresh start or a new season, whether it's moving cities or changing schools, or maybe someone's transferring like universities or wherever you're at, you get to go to God and kind of say, God, what does this new season look like for me? And I guess kind of journey with God through it, invite him into it. And I feel like a lot of our transitions have kind of centered a little bit around maybe our communities of faith. And so I think not going at it alone makes such a difference. The beginning of our move here to Cape Coral, there was a lot of moments that were incredible. You know, we took a big step of faith and it's been really fulfilling and awesome so far. But I also had some hard days over the summer where I felt really alone. And I was kind of just struggling because everything was so new and different. And I feel like once I leaned into my community and I really thought, you know, I took the perspective of how can I serve my community versus being concerned that I've changed my whole life around. My perspective changed. And I feel like what maybe felt like not a burden, but what just felt hard in certain moments kind of became really purposeful for me. And it changed my perspective of what a new season and what change can feel like. Because I moved even more than you in my life. So I am pretty like apprehensive to change because I've experienced it so much. I'm seeing the beauty in it. And I think we're in a great season now.
For sure. And I think the more transitions that you've been through that are not as good, you start to have that negative association to change. Now you have this resistance and this rigidness to change, and that just makes it even harder because change is inevitable. Transition is inevitable. We're always going to go through different transitions, most of them happening to us outside of it being our choice.
That's the part that's hard.
And that it is because you can't choose when, you can't choose where, oftentimes you can't choose how a lot of the time. So it's really just so many things happening outside of your control that if anyone's like me, I'm like, I want to always be in control. But it's anytime that you're even in some sort of feeling of control, it's just an illusion.
It's illusion.
And transition can come and kind of just uproot you. And I think what's helpful in those times is to really just identify. There's a lot of different things that can be helpful. So like I think even we heard a bunch of people say this, that any major life change that you go through is an opportunity for you to like go to therapy, right? To use that as an opportunity to be able to talk and process with somebody who is a professional, you know? And I think it's helpful to do that with friends and family and people who are familiar that really know you and have that context, but also go to somebody who is outside of you, who can speak objectively into, you know, your life and who doesn't know all the inner workings and can just kind of speak to that season that you're walking through. I think what's helped me a lot of times is being able to identify, you know, what a season actually is. Like for me, just being like more logical or analytical, for me, it's like, all right, is this transition big or small? And is it positive or negative?
That's good.
Because I think that can really just help give language and, you know, help you compartmentalize. And that's not for everybody, but for me anyway, to be able to compartmentalize what this transition is going to be like. So is this actually a transition that's going to affect many parts of my life, or is it just going to be a small one that I personally have to adjust to, you know? And then on top of that, is this going to be a good transition, or is it going to be more of a negative one, you know? What have been some things for you that have kind of helped you through transition?
I think anytime I lean on my family, on friends, I tend to isolate and I can get overwhelmed with just, I think, being in a path, not a career, but really a calling that is thankfully and beautifully so centered around doing life with people very closely and intimately. There are moments where I know I have to kind of step away and recharge alone. And so I think that when there's a lot happening seemingly to me, like a change or a move, I can tend to isolate. And I would say that's the part of me that I could grow in and I'm still growing in. It's not isolating, but leaning on people and kind of like telling on myself. Like when I'm having a hard day and maybe I'm feeling isolated or alone, or I'm trying to process a shift in my life, a transition in my life, going to people and not just going to you because you're awesome, but I have to lean on my friends. I have to lean on my family. And so I feel like this summer I was forced into having to tell on myself. And so I remember one time we were in Orlando and we were at one of our favorite restaurants, Sticky Rice. We were with my family and my parents kind of casually asked like, so how are you guys doing? And I was like, I'm doing horrible, blah, blah, blah. And I just kind of like let it all out. And they were like, okay, you need to talk more to us, you know? And so from that point I was like, you know what, let me continue to bring my family close. They're who God's gifted in my world. And irrespective of, you know, just they're the people that God's put in my world. So
sure.
I talk to my sister, my mom, my dad, our friends, really great friends, mentors in our life, leaders, our community, you know, our church. Even if we weren't the pastors, I would still lean on my community of faith, and I would lean on my church. And just isolation is so devastating to a person's soul during change,
right?
In a new season,
right?
Learning from experience. Yeah.
And transition can happen in so many different ways. And it's not a one size fits all, you know, where you take all these different solutions and cool, now I have a formula that will always help me through transition. It's always going to be changing. And even just thinking about, you know, like kind of uprooting a plant or a tree or something like that. There's a lot of steps involved to make sure that if you're uprooting a tree, especially if it has deep roots down, that you can replant it in a healthy way and care for it. And there's a lot of different steps involved in that. And if it's not done properly or with care, then that tree will end up dying and not being able to, you know, have deep roots and things like that. And I think one thing when it comes to transition is, you know, for sure not being able to choose when a lot of times or how or where that transition happens. But I do think one choice that we have in all of this is really choosing, are we going to make this a healthy transition or an unhealthy transition?
Yeah.
You know, because I think that's such a big determining factor in transition. And honestly, it helps a lot with your relationship to transition. You know, if you've experienced a lot of unhealthy transition in your life or seen it or been around it, then naturally that's what you're going to produce because that's just what you know. Yeah. But if you've been around a lot of healthy transition, then you're like, oh, I've seen this done before. I've seen this work out really well. I've seen people actually grow in this. I've seen people become better. They're now in better opportunities and better seasons and better places because they were able to move about this transition in a healthy way. Yeah. And so I think that's the hard part, though, is being able to do something in a healthy way. Yeah. And sometimes that word healthy can be a little ambiguous. You know, what are some of the determining factors of health? What would you say are some of the things when it comes to a healthy transition, just maybe 3 to 5 or something like that you're like, this is an indicator that a transition was healthy?
Well, I think finishing well, how you end one season is how you start the next season. And so I think a healthy transition is marked by finishing well into completion. And so I think that, you know, you think about silent, you know, what is it, quiet quitting, which is a thing now where you just kind of quietly quit and just ghost, disappear. That is crazy to me. And so, you know, I get that there are certain situations where you're like, I've got to get out of this. But I think finishing well, finishing with integrity, being someone that is just what you see is what you get. You know, there's never surprises with you, but people are going to know, no, this person's going to finish this season well. They're going to enter their next season well because they are consistent. They're reliable, they're dependable, they have integrity. Another marker of a healthy transition, maybe I would say, is the people who are around you. Like you really are the sum total of the people that are closest to you in your life. The good, the bad, and the ugly. There's no working around it. You know, that's who you are. And so if you have the wrong crowd around you, if you have an unhealthy community, if you're someone that's trying to like start fresh and go into a new season, maybe even your friendships. I've been meeting with some awesome girls in our community at church who are trying to, you know, reimagine what their community looks like. They found themselves around bad influences, wanting to break out of, you know, bad habits and cycles. And what we've been talking about, me and the girls in our church, in our community, is just about how the people in your world have such an effect on the decisions you make and the reasoning that you justify. And so if you have people around you that don't have the same values, don't have shared values, you don't have to all be like carbon copies of each other. But if you don't have some sort of shared values and mutual moral code, let's say like faith aside, just like as a good human being, you're going to have, you know, unwise people speaking into your life and giving you insight and advice that might lead you way down a path you never saw for yourself, just because, you know, they don't they don't have the same values as you. And so I think that is a marker of a healthy transition, is having great influences and voices in your life, because they're going to help you just be a healthy person in all areas of your life, transition included.
Yeah.
And yeah, I could think of other things, but I feel like right now that's what I think about, is the people in your world and you finishing well, healthy transitions. I'm trying to think what else. Preparation is a marker of healthy transition.
Yeah.
Not being an impulsive person that you just jump on every opportunity and every little thing. One day you're here, the next day you've moved to a whole new city. Nobody knows.
Right.
One day you're at your job, the next day you've quit. Nobody knows that you were going to quit. One day you're in a relationship, the next day you weren't in the mood, so you just broke up. No, if it's like a healthy, great, awesome relationship, and you got bored, you break up with the person, you ghost them, you date the next person, serial dating, you know, just, I think a lack of just
stability,
consistency, all those things just help you prepare for a new season. Enter a new season great, exit, you know, a season that's complete in a great way as well. And we know that new seasons are going to come. Like it's even in the Bible, and I think Ecclesiastes 3:1, you know, it says there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. So there's purpose in every season. But what are we doing with it? You know, a lot of people are in this though right now. Everybody's trying to figure out. I think, you know, when you're grieving the loss of something real and painful, and you're like forced into a new season in that way, it can be hard to think practically and logically when you're just sad and when you're low emotional. And when you're down. And I mean, even beyond just emotional, I think when you were just in despair, you know, and there've been days in the last year that I found myself feeling low, and that you've just been a listening ear and allowed me to grow to a place where I'm ready to, you know, make healthy decisions, maybe regarding my outlook and my perspective on life. You allowed me the space to grieve the ending of one season and to embrace the beauty of a new season. And it was really God that helped me change my perspective, and you gave me grace for that. And I'm thankful for that.
For sure. Well, I'm thankful for you saying that. Very kind. I think there's this connotation relationship to healthy transition with maturity. You know, I think some of the people I've seen that have transitioned the best have been the most mature people, and not necessarily old, you know. No. Maturity is definitely not attached to an age. To an extent it is, but I've seen some people who are in their 60s and they act like they're 6. You know, and I've seen some people who are in their 20s and they're more mature than I am. You know? And so I think that there's definitely a relationship here when it comes to healthy transition, that usually the people that will transition the best are the ones that are the most mature. They don't take things personally, you know. They don't play the victim or anything like that. Like, oh, this happened to me, you know. Even if something did, they kind of just go above that, you know. They choose to fly higher than kind of where normal other people will be at, you know. And I think that kind of sets people apart to be able to transition well, you know, where they're not so much like in, you know, just those raw emotions of that first instinct of what you want to say or how you want to act or how you want to respond. You know?
Past that first instinct.
They go past that and they're like, okay, that was definitely, you know, just internally how I wanted to respond, but that's not who I am. You know, I gotta go beyond that. You know? And I've seen that in our life as we've gone through transition, as we've been like super young to now being a little bit older, not much older, you know, not much more mature, but at least experience. And some of it has been by doing it the wrong way, you know, and just learning from that, or not doing it perfectly and realizing, okay, this was great, let's repeat that. This wasn't so great, let's work on that next time. You know? And I think that always helps to apply practical things for the next time, you know, where we just feel like, okay, we can kind of formulate this a little bit. It's not a one size fits all again. It's not like a perfect plan, but there's some things that just are proven to work. So let's just repeat that and keep that going. What would you say were a few of the practical things that you really worked on that helped for you to have healthy transitions in your life, maybe in relationships or in transitioning of jobs or cities or friends or anything like that?
When I think about transition in a new season and just a fresh start, and what that opportunity gives, I think that people that really see life, the glass half full, and just have a great perspective and just a lightness and a joy to them. I think just who you surround yourself with makes such a big difference. And I want to be around people that see life as see the world as your oyster.
Right.
Life is beautiful and it's filled with endless opportunities. Every morning is a new morning that gives us new mercies. There's fresh joy available every day. And I think people that see life that way and choose to see the world through heaven's perspective, even though we have so many reasons to be negative and pessimistic. I mean, life is hard and we've gone through hard things. We've had some deaths in the family in the last year. We've had transitions of really special friendships to us in the last year.
Yeah.
We've, moved cities in the last year from a city that we really loved, Miami, that we thought we'd be in our whole life.
Right.
But I think people that help us see the joy and the opportunity and the beauty in life, those are the people that have helped me flourish in transitions and on days where it'd be so easy to just kind of sink into isolation or be apprehensive to change. I grew up in St. Louis. I moved from St. Louis to Branson, Missouri. I moved from Branson, Missouri to Orlando. I moved from Orlando to Miami, and now from Miami to Cape Coral. And so each of those transitions came with challenges, but also tons of beauty and joy. And I think even my parents being immigrants and just seeing them be flexible and change and ebb and flow with life and just make friends wherever they go, get planted in church, whatever city we lived in. They served at every city we've lived in. And so I think just those things help me to stay light as a feather. What's that quote where it's like rolling off a duck's back or something like that?
It's like water off your back.
Water off a duck's back or something like that.
If that's not a quote, it should be.
It should be. I think it is. I think it is. But that's how I want to live my life.
Yeah.
Life is beautiful. There's so much to be happy about. There's so much joy to be found in life. There's so much to celebrate. Transition is an opportunity for a fresh start, for new relationships. Right. We get to explore a new city. We get to sink our teeth into sink our feet. Our teeth?
I think all of it.
Into a new community, try new restaurants, go to new beaches, put roots down new places. And so I just think anyone that thinks like that, I want you to stay close to me. I don't want to live life, negative, pessimistic. There's so much to embrace about a new season, and that's what I want to focus on.
Yeah, so much beauty in kind of those in-between moments.
Yes.
And I was thinking about this, and maybe we can end with this, but I'm going to be preaching this on Wednesday coming up here, and it's all about this thought of the Israelites when they were coming out of Egypt, Moses bringing them out of Egypt, God bringing them out of Egypt, and they go through all these moments where it's clear God's with them, where miracles are happening, and they come out of over 400 years of slavery out of Egypt, so many generations just dying in slavery, and they're coming out of this, and they're in the wilderness, and it shouldn't have taken very long to get to the land that God was going to promise them, to this promised land. And a month into this exodus out of Egypt, they start complaining and saying, oh, it would have been better in Egypt. Did you bring us out here to die? We want to go back. At least there in slavery, when we were, working for nothing, we had food and bread and whatever it was. And what's crazy is that it didn't take a long time for them to start to get negative and to not see what God was trying to bring them to. But it was that in-between moment that they didn't like. And it started to cause them to want to go back. And I think whenever we try to not embrace the change and not embrace these in-between moments, as difficult as it can be, as tense as it can be, we will miss out on what is next and the beauty of what God wants to bring us to, because we're familiar with what was in the past and what we were just out of, because we're comfortable people. We want to be in a comfort zone. We want to be in a place that's familiar and not go into a place that we don't know about or that we don't have everything figured out.
We've been talking a lot lately, I feel like, about over-romanticizing the past.
Right.
And the past was awesome. It's great, but we don't want to live there. The past was filled with experiences and beauty and great relationships and memories, but we're in the present and we're headed into the future. That's how I want to live my life. Not over-romanticizing the past. We can be nostalgic, we can reflect, we can share memories, but we're headed into the future. It's a new day. It's a new season. It's a fresh start. And that's what I love about every new year. here. That's what I love about transition and change, is that you get to keep your eyes focused on the future and where you're at versus where you've been.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah. So hopefully this was helpful for people. I've learned a lot from you about transition. You've always had such a great attitude. And I think that the best is yet to come for our family, for you, for our kids. And I think all the people in our world, we're seeing so many people grow in this area. And it's just cool to experience and to learn from everybody. So hopefully I'll keep learning from you. You keep learning from me.
I love learning from you.
We'll keep growing together.
No one else I'd rather learn from.
Yes.
Well, hey, we hope that this was helpful for you and that you were able to grab some of this and just apply it to your life. And if it has been helpful for you, why don't you do us a favor? Like, comment, share. If you know somebody who's going through a transition, about to go through one, maybe you are yourself, why don't you just share this link with somebody that can help them navigate that? And we just cannot wait to see you on the next episode of For People Like You.